What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Football Podcast. This is now episode 25. We're a quarter of the way to 100. It's pretty big there. Today we're going to be going over the Week 4 games. Obviously, not the Thursday Night Football game. I'm a little upset that the Giants lost, but it is what it is. In today's episode, again, like I said, we're going to be going over the Week 4 games, and that's pretty much it. Let me roll the intro, and let's get right into Week 4 game. So one quick thing before I do get into the game picks, I would like to announce that next week, Week 5 game picks will have will be a little bit different. You'll see what I mean, and I'll post in a couple of days about that. So keep your eye out for a special announcement post on that. So let's get right into the games, right? Might as well. Let's start with the 1:00 games. We have the Bengals and the Panthers. Bengals are now 0-3. Panthers are 1-2 after a good win against the Raiders this past week. So what does this mean for both teams? It means that, look, we're used to a slow start for the Bengals every year. It's just the way it happens. This team usually starts slow, but they don't start this slow. We usually see 0-2. Maybe we see 1-1, but they don't look like a good 1-1. They look like a bad 1-1. They're 0-3 right now. The Steelers are 3-0. They're already 3 games back. And I talked about this in the Week 3 recap. Look, this is a team that needs to win now, and they have a good opportunity to do that. But Andy Dalton looked really good, and it's not necessarily a winnable game for the Bengals with the way they've been playing. The Panthers came out and they played well. They did. I'll give them credit. They played well against a pretty solid Raiders defense. Andy Dalton was slinging it, and now he has a theoretical revenge game against his former team where he started for many years. This is a significantly different Panthers team than what we saw from the first 2 weeks, and I'm curious to see how this game folds out. I do think the Bengals do take this over the Panthers, but it's going to be another close game for Cincy. This is not a playoff team right now, Cincy. They need to win a couple games to get some momentum, and then I'll probably change my opinion on them. But for now, they're not a playoff team. Interesting thing, I believe it was on First Take on ESPN. They talked about this, and they said if the Bengals lose this week, they should definitely consider trading Higgins or Chase, and I completely agree with that. They need to kind of regroup themselves. Higgins is on an expiring contract. Look how long it took for him to show up to training camp. I mean, this is a guy who wants money, and at some point you're going to have to pay other guys. I think if they lose this game, they need to trade T. Higgins. Not necessarily Chase. Chase is generational. You cannot trade Jamar Chase. But T. Higgins, that's a guy that you can definitely get really good trade value from him right now. I would definitely think about trading T. Higgins if they lose this game, but I don't think they will. I do like the Bengals in this game. So give me Cincy to beat the Panthers, then both teams would be 1-3. Next game, we have the Saints and the Falcons, an NFC South rivalry. This is a side note. I feel like there's no rivalries in the NFC South. I don't know if it's just me. I mean, maybe I'm making it up. I feel like ever since Tom Brady retired, it's just kind of been dull. And I don't know if it's because the division theoretically on paper isn't that good or what it is, but I feel like there's no real rivalry games in the NFC South anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So Saints and Falcons. Saints have been very, very, very good. Obviously, they lost last week to the Eagles. The Eagles played. The other team played well. Let's be real. The Eagles barely beat them. I think the final score was 15-12, if I remember right. The Falcons, the Saints. They played slow offensively. They played pretty good defensively. Other than that long run by Barkley at the end of the game, it was a tight game against a very solid Eagles team. So this Saints team has nothing to be ashamed about, and it went a loss like that. Atlanta, on the other hand, they're coming off a bad loss against the Chiefs. Not necessarily bad in the fact that they got blown out, but more bad in the fact that they got screwed basically by a PI call. And that fourth down call where they ran to Bijan, he got stuffed. It was a terrible play call. I mean, you need to do better in a high leverage situation like that, and they didn't. So that's not good. That's like the opposite of dog of the week. That's you're staying in the doghouse. There's no even contention there for Bijan. That was a bad play call. But the Falcons aren't playing bad football. Look, when Kirk Cousins beat the Eagles, we were like, wow, this is a team that can win these big games. They can win these primetime games on the road. This is a team that can win big games if they really put everything together, and they have been. Look, London's getting involved, and he's been playing very well this season. Pitt's getting more involved than he has in the past. Let's be real here. Bijan's playing unbelievably well. I like how they're using in Tyler Algier as well. It's a nice mix of the two running backs there. This is definitely a really tight game. I do think Atlanta takes this one because of the home field advantage, but it definitely will be a tight game there in Atlanta. So definitely keep an eye out on that one to watch. Jacksonville and Houston are playing as well. Another this is an AFC South matchup here. Jacksonville is 0-3. They got shut out. They didn't get shut out. They got blown out rather by the Bills on Monday Night Football this past week. Meanwhile, Houston, they got blown out respectively as well by the not by the Houston Texans, by the Minnesota Vikings. So two teams are coming off of very bad losses. Now, obviously, Jacksonville, we kind of expected them to lose. What happened to Jacksonville? I mean, they used to be not they like when you play Jacksonville, you're like, okay, you're playing Jacksonville, like this is gonna be a tight game. They probably are gonna win, but if you're like a mediocre team, you're always gonna have a good matchup against the Jaguars. There's no good matchups with the Jaguars this year. I mean, what's going on with them? Trevor Lawrence is not. I mean, someone called Trevor Lawrence Daniel Jones with long blonde hair, and I thought that was very funny. That's not really relevant to what I'm talking about. I just wanted to say that because I thought it was funny. Houston needs a bounce back win. This is the perfect time to get it. If they win, they'll be 3-1. Jacksonville is 0-3. I mean, this is not a team that I expected to be 0-3 at this point. They are I think they're going to drop to 0-4. Houston outmans them in every aspect of the game. Better quarterback, better line, better receivers, better skill positions, better coaches, a better defense, in my opinion, better special teams. Every aspect of the game, they outperform them, and I do think that Houston is going to win this game in double digits. Even though Jacksonville and Houston, they do have pretty tight games, I do think that it's going to be a double-digit game there for Houston and a win for them. That'll bring them to 3-1 and Jacksonville to 0-4 in terms of my predictions. Broncos at Jets. The Broncos are coming off a very, very strong win against the Bucs. Bo Nix had a coming out party. He was absolutely money last week. The Jets, who did they play last week? They played the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. See, Thursday Night Football seems like it's so long ago. But they destroyed the Patriots, basically. Both teams played very, very good football last week. They played great defensively and great offensively. So it's definitely going to be a matchup there between who can kind of outperform who. And I think that's where it happens. The matchup of the week, or not of the week, the matchup of this game is going to be that Jets offense versus the Broncos defense. If the Broncos defense can hold them to average offensive points, maybe like 17 or less, the Broncos are in this game. They are. This is definitely a time for Denver to capitalize if their defense can hold strong like they did last week. This is definitely it's a relatively winnable game for the Broncos. Again, relatively speaking here, I do think the Jets are going to win this game, but I will say if the Broncos defense could kind of hold them in the game, this is definitely a winnable game, almost like the Giants and Cowboys game. Look, not that the Jets are very vulnerable at this point, but I'm just kind of comparing them. The Giants defense did their very best to keep them in that game. I mean, let's be real here. Obviously, like the chunk plays hurt, but they did hold the Cowboys to field goals when they needed it most. If the Broncos can do that, then they have a chance to win this game. But I don't know if they will. But if they do, that's like the number one key. I do like the Jets, though, to win this game and go to, what would they be, 3-1, right? Vikings at Packers, an NFC North rivalry. So this game depends on Jordan Love. Is he playing or is he not? Based on what I know, he's questionable. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be playing or not. If I had to guess, I would probably say no because I know he was targeting week 5, but apparently he has been ramping up from that injury that he suffered week 1, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's already like that feels like so long ago. We're already in week 4. This game depends on that Jordan Love injury. If he plays, man, it's tight. It's tight. This is Sam Darnold's first real test against like on the road. Is his first? Can he handle that pressure? Look, when you're in Minnesota, you know everyone's behind you. You're a career underachieving quarterback who has theoretically never been given an opportunity. So now you have been given out the opportunity with a great head coach. KOC's been doing amazing there. and you also have weapons, and then you've been dominating. But you play the Giants on the road, and as much as I hate to say as a Giants fan, when the Giants play in MetLife Stadium, if they're not good, they're not loud. The Jets are loud. Jets fans are loud. Giants fans are not. Or that's the way it's been for the last couple of years. They don't. I mean, you can say, oh, I mean, yeah, last night, or this is gonna be uploaded on Saturday, but on Thursday, they they were loud on certain plays, but it wasn't like 24/7 where they were disrupting plays like like Vikings fans did last Sunday against when they were playing the Texans. This is Sam Darnold's first real test on the road. Getting back to my point, this is a really tough environment. Luckily enough, they're playing in Lambeau early on. I mean, usually we see the Vikings and the Packers play in Lambeau weeks 14 later, weeks, late in the season when it's cold, when it's snowy, when it's icy, bad conditions to play in. We don't have that anymore because now it's week 4. It's not going to be cold. It's not going to be snowy. It's not going to be icy. I do think the Vikings win this game and go to 4-0 because I don't think Jordan Love's going to play. But if he does, Lambeau's going to be buzzing even more than it already does. And I do think that the Packers would then win if Jordan Love is playing because the Vikings got to stop at some point if we're going to be real. But if Jordan Love doesn't play, Vikings would be 4-0. And then to miss the playoffs, they would have to go 4-9 down the stretch, which I don't think they're going to do. I mean, I guess that theoretically they could, but I mean, if you start at 4-0 and you miss the playoffs, that's a bad look. Steelers and Colts. I thought the Colts were going to be a lot better than they are this year. I will say I was spot on with Anthony Richardson through 3 weeks. I mean, week 1 he had like 9 completions. I don't care about the 26 fantasy points. He had 9 completions. The last 2 weeks he's been terrible. He's not played winning football. He's played strong losing football. He has not won any games. They don't play like they want to win. This is not a great. I mean, it's nothing against him. The problem that I have with him is that he's so raw. He's gifted athletically. He has so much talent, but he's so raw, and that's the problem. When you have a prospect like this who has a very, very high ceiling, that high ceiling, it's the exact same on that high potential. As high as that ceiling goes, that's as low as the floor goes. And that's what we're seeing with Richardson. He's going towards his floor. Now, obviously, it would be inappropriate to call him a bust because he's not. It's too early, obviously, to say that. But I am getting a little bit worried. He's not playing well. He's not playing like he should be playing. And now he's going up against a really, really tough Steelers defense, and they've been playing lights out. And then, obviously, for the Steelers offensively, Justin Fields has been very, very solid. Justin Fields has been a game manager. That's all the Steelers need him to do. That defense is incredible. If Justin Fields is a game manager, again, and I say this every time I talk about the Steelers, 225 passing yards or more, or around 40 rushing yards or more, maybe a passing touchdown or 2, and no turnovers. That's managing the game, and that's going to win them football games. Until otherwise, Justin Fields is the QB1 right now. There's going to be no reason when Russell Wilson's completely healthy, there's no reason that he should come back as the QB1. That's not fair to Fields. The Steelers are playing really good football right now. I don't see the Colts beating this team, especially with the way they've been playing offensively. I do like the Steelers to take this one against the Colts. And the Steelers would then be 4-0 for the first time in like forever. Actually, not forever. The last time they started out 4-0, it was 2020, right? That's when I just remember that now. That Steelers team went 11-0. They ended the year 12-4, and they got eliminated in like the first round, or the first playoff game they played. They got eliminated because they went to. Man, this is interesting because I completely forgot about this until like literally right now. They were 11. They started 11-0. I think Chase Claypool then tweeted, "Losing never matter," and then they played Washington, and Washington, who, remember, at that time, the Washington football team, they beat Pittsburgh that's when Washington went 7-9 and they made the playoffs. I mean, like, this would be the first time since then that they've started out 4-0, and that's obviously not the way you want to end that's not the way you want to end the season. But it definitely is interesting to kind of put that into perspective. Not that that's really important right now. I just want to bring it up. Anyways, to wrap up my points about that, I do like the Steelers to win that game. Rams at Bears. Okay, so the thing is with the Rams, they have a lot of injuries, a lot of injuries. Kupp is hurt, Nakua is hurt. They've like 3 offensive line injuries. Steve Avila is out. No Boom, I'm pretty sure, is hurt, and there's one other who I can't think of right now. And plus the defensive injuries that just go on and on. I mean, this is a very injured team, but they won last week against the Niners. Like, that's impressive stuff, right? When the Niners are able to do that, like, that's crazy. You're able to play against a great, talented Niners team. You allow Juwan Jennings to cook you for the entire game and you still win. That's impressive stuff. The Bears, I don't care how statistically good Caleb Williams has been. He just has not been playing well, and I think it's because he cares more about his image than his actual playing time. And you can tell this by, look, when he threw his first career passing touchdown to Rome Odunze, they're like, oh, who's going to get the ball here? And obviously they were going like Caleb had like I'm going to chase after you to Rome Odunze, and they were down by like 7 at that point after the touchdown. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Be real, focus. That's why you're not putting out consistent numbers. He had to throw like 50 times last week, and I get it. His offensive line's terrible. Oh, he has no help. The play calling's terrible. That's the exact same thing you said with Justin Fields, but apparently Fields was the problem. Let's be real. It's not a Fields problem. It's a Bears problem. They need to upgrade that offensive line. They need to get a new play caller. They need to get someone who's willing to take shots. They can't just sit around and kind of do the underneath stuff. They need to consistently be able to get the over the middle. Look, when you have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, and you have DeAndre Swift, who hasn't been good this season. I'll be honest, he has not been very good. Roshan Johnson. There's no way you cannot put up anything. I don't care how bad your offensive line is. Look at what Joe Burrow did in his second year, coming back from an ACL injury or whatever he hurt. He had a terrible offensive line, but he had Chase, he had Higgins, he had Boyd, he had Joe Mixon. He made it work, and he led them to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying that Caleb Williams should bring the Bears to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying he should be playing better than the way he is. With that being said, I like the Rams to win this game. I feel like the Rams outmatched the Bears in almost every aspect of the game. I think this would be a big coming out party for Jared Verse against that horrifically bad Bears offensive line. So I'm curious to see how that game plays out. Eagles and Bucks. Okay, so a couple of injury reports. Right before I started recording this, Devonta Smith was ruled out with the concussion that he suffered last week, and A.J. Brown's questionable. On the other side of the ball, and by the other side I mean by the Bucks, Godwin is healthy, so he's good to go. He was limited, I think, in practice. I think he practiced full today, so he's good. So in terms of receivers, Eagles are down Smith and maybe down Brown, and the Bucks have Godwin back. So that changes the game a little bit. Look, the Eagles, I still don't think the Saints are an amazingly good team. They don't impress me that much. Oh, well, let me reword this. They impressed me in the fact that they dominated Dallas. That was impressive. That was impressive. That was good quality football right there. But they're not like a crazy good football team at the end of the day. And the Eagles didn't take advantage of the constant, if you're the Saints and you've scored 40 plus points in your first 2 games and you scored 12 points, that's a win for Philly. But Philly only scored 15 points. It took Saquon Barkley to put them on their back, to put him on his back to win. It shouldn't come down to that. It should come down to Hurts and having, good play calling. But it's not. It's always on Barkley, and that's another problem that the Eagles face when they're playing against a Bucks team who just got they're the floor, and the Broncos were a broom. The Broncos wiped the floor with the Bucks. Simply put, wipe the floor with the Bucks. The Bucks want vengeance now. This is a good time to take it on the Eagles. Eagles are down Smith, so now if Brown plays, you double him, and he's hurt to begin with the hamstring injury. If you just shut down the run, which obviously is a big problem because that Eagles offensive line is amazingly good, and Barkley's fantastic, and you have Hurts to worry about as well because he's really good on the ground. I mean, the Eagles kind of have to become one-dimensional with that run game, and you know it's going to come. With that being said, I like the Bucks to win this game. I think the Bucks are slightly better in certain spots. I think Baker Mayfield needs to have a better outing than he did last week. I think that Bucks defense is ready to tighten up again. They have a good opportunity to do it this week against an Eagles offense that's been kind of struggling a little. I mean, I'm not obviously there's a difference between struggling and playing bad football. I think they're more struggling than playing. They're playing solid offense. Their offensive game planning is not bad. I think their execution hasn't been great, and they're struggling to consistently put up the numbers that they would have maybe last year, a couple of years or 2 years ago when they made that Super Bowl run. The Bucks, though, and this is a bad time for the Eagles because you barely beat the Saints, and now they never really capitalized on that Monday Night Football loss. And that's going to burn them a lot. That's going to burn them because, I mean, they needed to capitalize on that, and they weren't able to. So I do think the Bucks take this game over the Eagles. Next up, we have the Pats and the 49ers. This one, I mean, I say this every week. There's always those couple of games that are who's going to win this game. The Niners are going to win this game. But I do think it's going to be pretty close. I think the Niners they need a bounce back win. And now that CMC is reportedly out for a couple more months so he's going to be out for longer than we expected him to be. Now it's Jordan Mason, week 1 dog of the week. He's got to pound that rock. They got to continue to run like they still have CMC. Show confidence in your guys. Show confidence that you know that Jordan Mason can play like CMC. Show that Juwan Jennings can be like Debo. Show that Brandon Ayuk is still Brandon Ayuk. Use Kittle. Use your offensive line. Use your backups defensively because your game planning is so good. This is a time for the Niners. The Niners cannot keep this game close. They need to dominate from the get-go. If they don't, I'm genuinely worried about this team. They need to lock in from the beginning and lock out at the end. They need to do everything in their power to stop this Patriots offense, and that's not that hard. It's really not. I mean, how long until we see Drake May in this game, really? I do think that it's going to be closer than we expect it to be. So, I mean, I bet a bunch of people are placing Niners by 17 or whatever. I think it's going to be maybe like a 7 to 10 point game, somewhere in that range, maybe 6 to 10 point game, somewhere in that range where you're kind of okay, yeah. So it's not super close on the scoreboard, but it is kind of competitive there. I do like the Niners, though, at the end of the day, to take this one. Next up, we have the Commanders at the Cardinals. This is actually a very good game. I'll be honest. I mean, the Commanders have been playing very, very well. I didn't even know this. Jaden Daniels had a 91% completion percentage last week. 91. That's bonkers. That's unbelievable. He was actually this entire season he's been playing really well. Week 1, I mean, even though they lost, he played well. Week 2, he played very solidly. They just didn't get it going in the red zone. And week 3, there was nothing stopping Daniels and McLaurin and Brian Robinson and Eckler. There's nothing stopping them. They're playing a Cardinals defense, though, that allowed 20 points to the Lions, to a high-powered Lions offense. They tightened up a little bit. They kept it close with them, and that's what the Cardinals do. They keep games close. This is a big test for the Cardinals. Look, Washington's coming off a big game for momentum. When you go into an atmosphere like Cincy in prime time and you take it to them offensively like that, that's massive. So the biggest key to this game is Arizona scoring against that Arizona's defense against the Washington offense. if guys like Buda Baker, these guys, if they need to step up more than they already do. You need to lock down Terry McLaurin, make Jaden Daniels go to his second and third option, and shut it down completely. Daniels has had a super high completion percentage. You got to bring that down. Maybe play like a zone coverage, pass guys off to each other, but don't leave any holes for guys like Zach Ertz to get open in. You need to tighten up, and that's what's going to win. That's what's going to determine this game for the Cardinals this week. I do think the Commanders come out with the win though, because I can't doubt Jaden Daniels, and I don't think the Arizona defense is good enough to stop Washington's offense consistently. Um, it's going to be another high scoring game, another maybe like 30-27, if not higher than that. One score game, definitely. Like I said, 30-27. I don't know if it came out 38-27. 30-27 is what I would say here, as Washington would beat Arizona. Next up, we have the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chargers are coming off a loss to the Steelers. I don't know Justin Herbert's availability right now. Well, you know what? I can look it up. I know Justin Herbert was spotted in a walking boot. He is questionable for this week. That was posted 26 minutes ago. Joey Bosa, Rashawn Slater, and Junior Colson, actually. So they're injured. Joining Herbert on the questionable side of the ball is Joe Alt as well. So they're really injured. I mean, oh my gosh. So simply put, this is a game the Chiefs are going to win. Look, they always have the refs on, and I hate being that person because you hear this everywhere, but it's the refs all the time. You cannot miss that PI in a primetime game where everyone's watching. Like, you cannot miss those calls. This is a time for. The Chiefs need to come out and they need to play a clean game. Don't let the refs win you this game. Show that you're actually a good team. The Chargers, be competitive. Look, Herbert's hurt. He's not going to play at 100%. You don't have Joey Bosa this week. Joe Alt's hurt. This is a game where if you don't win, it's okay. Just be competitive. Show that you could, if you were healthy, show that you could beat the Chiefs. So if you're competing for an AFC wildcard spot later in the season, you can. That's what I would do if I'm the Chargers. So with that being said, I like the Chiefs to win this one. Again, the Chiefs just outmatched the Chargers really in every aspect of the game. So I like the Chiefs there. Browns and Raiders, two teams coming off of bad losses in week 3. The Browns obviously lost to the Giants, and the Raiders lost to the Panthers. Who's going to win this one? This is a tight game of two very gritty football teams. The Raiders have something to prove, man. I mean, they really. I mean, like that's a game that they should have won with. I mean, no doubt about it. They absolutely should have won that game, and they didn't. They needed to come out with a win there, and they didn't. Again, like I said, they didn't deliver. I mean, Antonio Pierce after the game, players made business decisions. Like, we're going to make decisions back. That shows he packs a punch. But the Browns, they're not a bad team. Look, Cooper was amazing last week. Jerome Ford was solid. Defensively, they were pretty good. I mean, they gave up a couple of chunk plays here and there. But it doesn't matter what happens because every time they lose, it falls back on Watson. And every time they win, it's a barely win. It falls back on Watson. What happened to Watson, man? He is just not good. He's not. He looks lost. He looks uncomfortable. Every negative adjective you can think of that describes Deshaun Watson. He just doesn't look good. He doesn't look comfortable. And the Raiders, Las Vegas is such a loud environment. Raiders fans, even though they're from Oakland, they do travel well to Vegas. Look, this is a game that the Raiders need to win. They're playing a bad quarterback. So you have a bad quarterback, so you're even there. You guys know how much I dislike Aiden O'Connell, and I don't mind Gardner Minshew. Your poor quarterback situation gets equaled out because of how poorly Deshaun Watson's playing. Look, bring the heat. Force him to make bad throws. The Giants last week, they had 18 pressures on Watson. They had 8 or 9 sacks. The Raiders need to do that with guys like Max Crosby. They need to be able to do that consistently. If they can, they win. Even if they don't get that kind of pressure, though, I still like the Raiders to win this game. Probably like 21-17. Low scoring I guess low scoring for football. Bills at Ravens, game of the week, absolutely here. I mean, this is a great game. The Ravens are 1-2. They got their first win against Dallas this past week in a what turned out to be a close game, even though the Ravens were taking it to them in the first half. And the Bills, they're 3-0. And the thing is with Buffalo, and here's why I like them so much, they're fun. Buffalo is a fun football team. With Diggs, they were not fun. With Stephon Diggs, they were a good football team. Without him, they're a fun football team. The difference in those teams is huge. A fun football team has a ton of chemistry. They score a ton of points, and that energy from the offense goes to the defense, and it's a cycle. A good football team might not have chemistry everywhere, and if you don't deliver, then it's a problem. If you're fun, you're just saying, all right, well, we'll get them next time. If you're good, you're saying you should have gotten them. There won't be a next time here. And that's the big difference. Now that Diggs isn't there, Josh Allen is playing really good football. Keon Coleman, he's playing solid. He's playing solidly. Khalil Shakir has been great. He's been playing really good. I love Kincaid. I think he's great. And Dawson Knox is there too. James Cook has been playing really well too. The Bills are really, really good. This is a big test for them. Can they go into Baltimore? Can they stay undefeated? Can they be 4-0 against a Ravens team that's been struggling? Can Justin Tucker bounce back? That's the big question. The one thing that's true is that Justin Tucker's automatic, but he just hasn't been automatic this year. I don't know what's going on there. With that being said, I do think the Ravens will come out with this one because this is such a must-win game for them. You need to win this game. Establish yourself as still a top dog in the league, not just the AFC, in the league. You're 1-2. Win this game. Be 2-2. The Bills are 3-0. Bills don't have much to prove. We know what they are. They're a fun team and they can win when they need to. They're not necessarily gonna win the big games, I would say, but they're still a solid football team. The Ravens need to show, look, we are better than our record says we are. And if they win this week, they would be back to 500 in a very competitive AFC North, which is going to be a bananas race down the stretch. So I do like Baltimore in this one, but ever so slightly. And again, this is one of those 50-50s. It could go absolutely either way. Okay, worst game of the week here. This is a horrible game. This game is terrible. Titans and Dolphins. Will Levis sucks. The Dolphins are, I'm pretty sure they're bringing out Tyler Huntley or Snoop Huntley, however you guys want to call him. I mean, I guess I like Miami in this game because of how bad Tennessee is. I don't know. I don't know if I ever talked about Will Levis on this. When I do scouting every year, whenever I scouted Will Levis, I was like, this guy's not good. He's from a basketball school. He's from Kentucky. He's not a good quarterback. I don't know. He's going to be a bust. Now we're here. He's had 3 straight bonehead plays, or at least memeable pictures in the last 3 weeks. 3 in 3 weeks. That's 1 per week for those who can't do math. That's bad. And these are the 2 teams that you're representing for the doubleheader on Monday night. Whatever channel this is on, whether it's on ESPN or ABC, I'm watching the other game. The other game's significantly better. With that being said, I do like the Dolphins to win this game, but I mean, I'm not, no disrespect to Titans or Dolphins fans if you watch the pod. This game is terrible. I mean, it's probably gonna end like a 6-3 final. It's gonna be horrible. But I do like Miami because I like Tyler Huntley significantly more than like Will Levis, and also Tyler Huntley as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Seahawks and Lions. This is the significantly better Monday Night Football game that I'm talking about. Seahawks are coming off a dominating win against Miami and at home, and the Lions are coming off a win against Arizona. 2 really good football teams right here. The Seahawks have been playing very well. I'll give them credit there. Lions are playing like the Lions do. This is another good football. This two good football teams. But you're in Detroit. Detroit's loud. They're bringing out. I believe they're bringing out the all-black unis with the blue helmet and like the black Detroit logo in it. This is the time for Detroit. Again, prove that you're the best team in the NFC, because I don't see another team that's better than them. Right now, the Niners are not better than them. You could absolutely argue the Vikings. That's a completely fair point. Maybe the Vikings are better than them right now, but again, like consistently, I'd rather have the Lions than the Vikings. To be fair. So with that, overall, I think the Lions win this game. Even though this is gonna be high scoring. Like this could be. I mean, last week we had the game with the Commanders and the Commanders and the Bengals. What? No turnovers, no punts. That's this game right here. No turnovers, no punts. It's going to be a very, very high scoring game there. So definitely curious to see how that game ends out. That's where we're going to end this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be on the lookout for an announcement regarding next week's Week 5 preview. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is Talking Football, and that's what I got to say about that.